Today we are looking at Steinitz Chigorin, 1892 World Championship Havana. This is part of the ChessDojo Games to Memorize series. And I think what's especially nice about this game is that if you were going to choose just one game to highlight who the official first world champion was, what did he contribute to the game? How did the man think? Then this is the best example that I can think of. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to share is that in this position, he is playing both d3 and c3. And I think it still looks a little weird to me, okay? But it is in fact very deep. And one reason it looks weird to me is I grew up on a steady diet of Fischer. And in those games, hundreds of games, we get this setup where the pawn on c3, it looks like the pawn on c3's main objective is to push d4. However, in our game, we are not pushing d4, at least not immediately. So the first couple things we want to say is c3 is not about d4, maybe later, but essentially not about it. The first thing c3 does is it blocks this knight from ever coming into our position. And it gives this bishop a way back if we need it. It also creates a problem. Well, you just blocked the natural development square for the knight on b1. So that's a problem we're going to have to solve. Black can do any number of things. What he did was fine. g6. Knight d2. Beautiful move. He is fixing his worst piece before anything else happens. Bishop g7, and now a true, I don't know if it's the best move in the position, but it shows an independence of thinking that I very much admire. Knight f1. So let's talk about it. This is a beautiful move, and I'm sure everyone's seen knight f1 at some point in their chess career and just been like, oh man, that's weird. But there's a couple things of beauty about this that I want us to understand. The knight on b1, who's now on f1, has to fix itself. It's one of the key problem pieces. If you think about this guy, the main reason it has to move someday is to let the rook out. This guy's already beautiful, though, right? This guy's got a job to do. And this knight, the funny thing is, it still doesn't exactly know. Maybe it'll go to g3, maybe it'll go to e3. We don't know yet. The other thing that's really nice about this move is this leaves us uncommitted as to whether maybe we will actually castle or not. Okay, maybe we won't castle. And one of the key ideas that Steinitz brought to the game was that he was willing to have his king be on the run, okay? And to kind of just give you a taste of that, here's this opening. It's called the Steinitz Gambit. You allow queen h4, and dude just played king e2. He didn't care. He didn't care. Here's another example. This is from the Scotch, where black plays queen h4 and allows this thing. And he played this a bunch of times. A bunch of times. It seems like madness, but this is what the kind of thing he was doing, and that it made a lot of people pissed off. Now, one hilarious thing that I think encapsulates a lot of Steinitz is, before I really read much about Steinitz, by the way, I can recommend this book, The Ink War by Willie Hendricks, came out, I believe, last year, is I knew this thing about the king, and I knew that everyone was really upset about his modern principles. But he was also a jerk. And when you're a jerk, people are going to get mad at you, okay? And a hilarious anecdote is they were talking about him, and he was like, yeah, the guy likes to play the king, right? He's playing the king here, and then in real life, he also likes to play the king. Hilarious. Let's go back to the game. Here he's also he's mentally able to play the king, whereas most chump GMs, including myself, and most players of that era really wanted to castle and castle early. That's in fact what we tell our children, right? Okay, castles. Bishop A4. Actually, a very nice move. Now, this is also breaking the rules of the dojo of not developing, but what it's saying is, I don't know where the knight on F1 is going yet. I don't know where my king's going yet, but my bishop, I want it to have the flexibility, if it gets harassed, to go over here. And furthermore, I don't know yet actually what black is going to do. In fact, I'm not afraid of anything black is going to do. Now, one of the things that Steinitz really invented was the idea, first of all, that he's not afraid of D5. Actually, I should say this whole setup with D3. So imagine, I showed you the thing with Fischer. That was very popular. Carlsen basically comes back to this D3 setup and uses a lot of Steinitz's ideas. And what's so cool about that is we're getting a sense of a strategic thinker. And it's really Lasker following Steinitz, who takes on this idea of deep strategy. And basically, it's not fair to call everyone else chumps before Steinitz, but there's a certain level of truth that Steinitz was thinking deeper, and then definitely Lasker was, and Lasker was following in Steinitz's footsteps. Okay, so let's call it a flexibility move, right? We're just saying I'm better placed on A4. I'm not going to be subject to weird knight attacks or anything like that. I might go back to B3, might go back to C2. I'm very flexible. All right, black says, I want to do something. By the way, one key thing we're going to see in this game too is Steinitz is not afraid of D5 and actually has a strong claim that D5 is fundamentally a weakening of the black position. Always a little too dogmatic, but it's part of this system. We'll talk a little bit about it later. Now, because the knight moved, now our knight knows it's going to E3. Knight C5, bishop C2, knight E6. Now, this is poor, but let's just get inside Chigorin's head for a second. What I see is a player who's obsessed with stopping D4. Steinitz don't even care about D4. I mean, he might do it someday, but that wasn't his main jam. Okay, so black is a little bit confused, doesn't quite know what to do, and now bang, he launches it. So notice, we didn't know if we were going to do that earlier, but we kept that option open. And our king is playing loose, doesn't know where it's going to go yet. Now, black's natural reaction, and this is the reaction we're taught, is if somebody attacks on the wing, you attack in the center. So now he's going to play for D5. Steinitz, though, holds this a little bit dogmatically, but still holds this to be fundamentally wrong, as it creates more weaknesses than it actually solves. It doesn't help, doesn't free any of black's pieces. It just kind of looks cool. So HG, and now we get a mistake with FG, but we understand this is terrifying to play HG because the rook is open. Now, there's a bunch of moves that white could do here. Knight G4, ED, but I just want to stress that even if white doesn't want to do anything special, can just sit on the position with Queen E2 and say, this D5 move, what have you done? You have done nothing. I am in control. To this day, when you take FG, we're worried about this pawn and we want a little action maybe of lateral defense. So that's the narrative for black. Now we know where the bishop on C2 wants to go to B3. And now black is in big trouble. Queen E2, now we know where the queen wants to go. Bishop D7, bishop E3. Now what's nice is he's just gonna it's very important now to bring this dude into the attack. King H8 makes sense, unpin, but now you're really looking at it on the H file. Castles, beautiful move. And now, in some ways, the star move of the game, Queen F1. A flexibility move, but one with a lot of different ideas. First, we're just getting off of the way of this. We might play Queen H1. We might do it. And also introducing the idea of D4, which we don't really want to do until our queen is off of the E file. What should black do? Well, part of the terror here is he's really, truly paralyzed. If his knight moves, this guy moves, we're coming in here. Oh no, you know. So what should he do? He tries to get some counterplay, and now we hit him in the, boom. Pop, 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 pop. Oh no, oh no. Threatening rook h4. Can't let that happen. So dude takes, bam. Oh, baby. Check to the miserable king. Check to the miserable king. Check to the miserable king. Boom. And here dude resigns. On king f5, we have queen f4. So you can see this is like the dream of a strategic player. Creating the preconditions for an attack and also having black really not getting what the main problems are in a position like this with knight e6. He thinks it's about d4. No, it's not. Also, though, it's very hard for him to know what to do in, say, a position like this with bishop a4, right? Beautiful game. And to my mind, the beginning of we can call strategical thinking. And it's this dawning that I think takes us in a lot of ways all the way up to the computer age, where people are thinking in terms of deep plans. With the computer, things change. They become a little bit more move by move. But that is, I think, the imprint of this first official world champion, Steinitz. Bye.